There's a person who says sorry when someone else steps on their foot. It happens before they can think. A stranger's shoe on their toes, a flash of pain, and the apology is already out of their mouth. Sorry. As if they had inconvenienced the foot that hurt them. You've met this person. You might be this person. They apologize for asking a question. They apologize for being in the doorway you also wanted to walk through. And they send a text and then a second text apologizing for the first one being too long. And everyone around them calls it sweetness, a good heart. So considerate, so thoughtful, always thinking of others. But here's what I keep coming back to. The thing that quietly changed how I see these people entirely. This isn't kindness. Not really. It's a weight. A heavy, invisible, exhausting load that they've been carrying for so long, they've forgotten they're carrying anything at all. They just think this is who they are. It isn't who they are. It's something they learned. Because somewhere along the way, a lot of us got told a story about guilt, that it's the voice of conscience, the proof of a good soul, the sign that you care about doing right. And for a lot of people, that's true. Guilt does its job and then it goes quiet. But for some, the guilt never goes quiet. It hums in the background of everything. It wakes them at 2 a.m. to replay a conversation from Tuesday, certain they said something wrong, certain they owe someone an apology that no one is actually waiting for. That isn't conscience working. That's an alarm that doesn't know how to turn off. And here's what's fascinating. That alarm wasn't born. It was built. So let's take the moral framing off the table for a minute. Let's stop asking whether these people are good or sensitive or selfless, because that question misses what's actually happening. What's actually happening is that somewhere earlier than memory in most cases, a child's nervous system did the math on how to stay safe and loved, and the answer it came back with was, be responsible for everything. Picture a kid whose job, without anyone ever naming it as a job, was to read the room. Maybe a parent's mood ran the whole house, and a good day meant peace, and a bad day meant walking on eggshells, and the child learned to scan a face the way the rest of us read the weather. Maybe love showed up when they were quiet and helpful and easy, and went cold when they were too loud, too needy, too much. Maybe someone in that house was struggling, and a small person decided, quietly, completely, that it was their job to fix it, to be the good one, the easy one, the one who never added to the pile. A child can't fix an adult's pain, but they can try, and the trying becomes a reflex. The reflex becomes a personality, and the personality becomes a person who, 30 years later, apologizes to a foot. This is the part that makes everything else make sense. When you're small and someone you depend on is unhappy, you don't have the power to think, this isn't about me. You don't have that yet. So instead, your brain reaches for the one thing that feels like control. If their unhappiness is my fault, then maybe I can do something about it. Guilt, strangely, feels safer than helplessness. Helplessness says nothing you do matters. Guilt at least says you have a job, and a child will choose the job every single time. So let me show you where that job shows up in the grown adult, because once you see it, you can't unsee it. The first place is over-apologizing, over-responsibility. They say sorry for things that have nothing to do with them. A meeting runs long. Somehow it's their fault. A friend is in a bad mood. They start combing back through everything they said. They absorb blame the way a sponge absorbs water, not because they did anything wrong, but because taking the blame is how you keep the peace, and keeping the peace is the oldest job they know. This is why they'll over-explain a simple no. 3 reasons: an apology, an offer to make up for it, while someone else just says, no thanks, and walks away without a backward glance. Neither one is wrong. They just learned completely different rules about what a person owes other people. One of them learned that no is a complete sentence. The other learned that no is a debt. The second place is the one that breaks my heart a little. They can't rest. The moment they sit down, the moment there's nothing to do, the guilt comes up like water finding a crack. They should be doing something. They should be useful. Resting feels like getting away with something, like a bill they'll have to pay later. And why? Because somewhere back there, they learned that their value was in what they did for everyone else. That taking up space, having needs, simply existing without earning it, that was the thing you apologized for. So now, even alone, even safe, they can't quite let themselves stop. Who taught them that being tired was something to feel guilty about? Nobody said it out loud. They just absorbed it, the way kids absorb everything, straight through the skin. And the third place is people-pleasing and the slow disappearing act that comes with it. They manage everyone's comfort, anticipate everyone's needs, smooth over every awkward edge, and in all that managing, their own needs go quiet. Then quieter, until eventually nobody really knows what they want, because they've spent so long being whatever the room needed that the room never learned to read them back. They become the most reliable person in everyone's life, and the most invisible. They give a gift out of obligation they'd never admit to. They say, I'm fine, so automatically they half believe it, and they wonder in the lonely part of the night why no one ever takes care of them the way they take care of everyone, never quite seeing that they train the whole world not to. Now here's the reframe, and I think it's the most important thing I can offer. All of this, every apology, every can't sit still, every disappearing act, it isn't a flaw. It isn't a disorder. It's love. It's misplaced, overgrown, exhausted love, running on a logic that made perfect sense once and just never got the message that the danger had passed. Listen to the logic underneath it, because it's almost tender. If I take responsibility for everything, then maybe nothing bad will happen. If I feel guilty enough ahead of time, maybe I'll never be the one who causes pain. If I keep apologizing, keep softening, keep making myself small and useful and easy, then maybe no one will leave. That's what's at the bottom of it. Not virtue, fear. The very old, very specific fear of a child who decided that being good was the price of being kept. Guilt became the toll they paid to feel safe. And they've been paying it ever since, to a creditor who left the building decades ago. That's the cruel part. The debt was real once. The creditor is gone. But the payments never stopped. So what do you do with that? If you're the one who recognizes yourself here, not what you'd think. And the answer isn't to feel less. You can't rip out a finely tuned alarm, and you wouldn't want to. That sensitivity, that ability to feel the room, to care, to notice the person in the corner who looks a little sad, that's not the problem. That's one of the best things about you. The work isn't to care less. It's to change what you do when the alarm goes off. It's learning slowly to tell the difference between actual responsibility and the inherited kind, between I did something that hurt someone and someone is hurting and my body decided it's my fault. It's letting an apology be a choice instead of a reflex. It's letting yourself sit down without earning it first. It's saying no and then not spending the next hour drafting the explanation. It's letting yourself take up space and not reaching for your wallet to pay for the room. Because here's the truth that I wish someone had handed to that kid a long time ago. The one who decided everyone's feelings were theirs to carry. The weight you've been carrying was never proof that you were bad. It was proof of how much you were holding for everyone but yourself. And the same heart that learned to feel responsible for the whole world, it can learn finally to come home, to include you. That's not you becoming colder. That's you becoming whole. Thank you for staying with me until the end. Don't forget to subscribe to keep exploring the hidden sides of psychology. Goodbye, and I'll see you next time.